Last time we've talked about reasons for you to start learning English if you haven't decided yet, and reasons for you to continue learning English in the year 2022 despite all the challenges. We're going to continue that discussion. Today, I'm going to give you tips on how to continue or start learning English in the year 2022, because learning a language or starting to do something is never too late. Alright, first of all, I think it's very important for you to know that you have to start doing something right away. If you've thought of doing something, as long as it's not a bad thing, you have to start doing it. You should not delay, because you already have the momentum, you already feel the need to do something. And I know that it doesn't happen always that we have the urge to do something finally, right? And in learning a language, the key there is to practice, okay? The key there is to practice. Now, we're not yet discussing the tips, but I think I have to clarify this. I have to make it to a point that you have to include this in your plan in 2022 in learning English. Think of the years that you spent in school. Some of you are adults already, some of you are college students, high school students, and think of those years that you spent in school. Now, a lot of you I know can understand me, can read books, textbooks, can always answer quizzes, tests in English. But the thing is, there is something lacking, and that is speaking in English. I know that majority of the students aim to speak in English. That means if you can understand English, whether in written and in oral form, but you cannot really speak in English or write something in English, write a full essay in English, that means you lack of practice. You already have the exposure, but you lack of applying the things that you're learning. And another point is that no matter where you are in your life, you might be in your mid-30s or late 30s, late 50s, you might be a working adult already. You have to think that age should not be a hindrance for you to learn English. For a very short anecdote, when I started posting videos on YouTube teaching English, grammar, speaking, pronunciation, a lot of people were surprised. Many of them have said that they've never thought of me speaking English like this. Well, which was understandable because I did not perform well when I was in school. What happened was that after graduation, and I believe I've already talked about this a bit in one of my videos, I still worked on my pronunciation, grammar, I still learned English. So my point here is that learning a language really takes time, and it's a long process. You have that goal to reach, for example, this level in English, you should not stop learning. And I think I have to clarify that I'm not saying that for students it's okay for you to not perform well in college or wherever you are right now. My point here is that you can always improve as long as you have the desire to do so. If you're a student now, I suggest that you do your best, and you also have to let your teachers help you in learning. Tip number one, this might sound cliche, you might have heard this a lot of times already, but yeah, I'm still giving it. You have to set reasonable and specific goals. So when I say reasonable, I mean to say that you have to identify the reason that you're setting this goal. Why do you need to learn English? Or why do you have to learn English at this level? Especially if your target is to use English in specific situations, you might be learning a different area in English which is not applicable in your situation or the kind of work that you have. People tend to not learn or remember the things that they're learning if they don't apply them or if they don't see them as things that they need. So that's one that you have to set. You have to see that that is something that you need. For example, whether that is vocabulary, grammar, or how to write emails, how to write business letters. You might be aiming of learning how to engage in conversations, for example, daily conversations or casual conversations when what you need is actually the more formal one because you need that at work. Apart from having your goals reasonable, you also have to check whether they are specific enough. As I have said, for example, if your aim is to widen your vocabulary and to fill your vocabulary bank, you have to identify which level of vocabulary words, or what is the register, the formal ones, the informal ones. If that is writing, you could go as specific as, for example, being able to write essays at the end of the year without that much difficulty or with correct structure. Tip number 2, you have to check whether your goals are achievable or possible. You have to take one step at a time, right? Well, for some of you, you might be seeing your end goal in learning a language, but for you to reach that end goal, you have to set little steps. You might be setting a goal which will later on give you frustration because you're setting that goal at a very short period of time. You have to identify your level for you to know how much do you have to go before you reach your goal. You can take English tests online. If you have a close friend or an English teacher, well, that's much better because you can ask them to give you an English test. Tip number 3, you have to create plans. Now, you've already set your goals or goal. It could be 1, it could be 2 or more, right? Now, what are the things that you have to do to achieve that or those? In creating your plan, you have to also think of the time. How much time will you dedicate or will you need to dedicate for you to reach your end goal at the end of the year? Do you have enough time? Or do you have to give up something for you to give way on learning English? For some, you might need some materials, for example, books, grammar books, reading books. Do you have them? Or where will you get them? Is it possible to get them? For some, you might need a teacher or someone who will check your progress from time to time. And you also have to think of that. Is it possible for you to have a teacher? Or can you find a teacher? Do you already have one? Especially if your target is speaking, you really need someone to talk with who will check whether you're doing the right thing, whether you're saying the right words, you're pronouncing words correctly, because that matters. If you don't have someone to check your progress, but you feel like you badly need to include learning to speak in English in the year 2022, you can always make up for that. Some teachers suggest that you engage in different communities where you can speak with people whose native language is English. Tip number 4, you have to think of the things that made it difficult for you to learn English in the year 2021. If you've set a goal in the year 2021 but you stopped in the middle of the year, or at the end of 2021 you've found out or you've learned that you didn't actually attain what you said at the beginning of the year, you have to identify the reasons. What could be the causes? Was it a lack of time, or were there things that suddenly happened which hindered you to attain your goal in 2021? You have to identify those because those might be the same reasons that you will stop learning English. So you have to name those struggles, those difficulties for you to be prepared and for you to know what to do next time that you encounter them. Next, you have to talk about your goals or write them somewhere. It's imperative that there is something or someone which will serve as a reminder of your goals in the year 2022. You have to write that somewhere, write that in your notebook, journal, or tell that to someone who you always speak with, your friend, your mom, or your sister, brother. Sometimes when you forget of doing something and you forget your goal, the things that you wanted to, those are the same people who would remind you. They would suddenly ask you whether you are still doing something to achieve your goal, or whether you're still working on something that you've mentioned last time. If you can find someone who has the same goal as you in learning English, that would be great. You can have a study buddy, right? You can always work together or remind each other of your goals. And sometimes that works on me. I have to tell my plans to other people because after telling them, I would feel obliged to really do that since I've already mentioned that to someone. The last tip is to schedule. You have to set time well apart from those instances when you would learn English while doing something. For example, listening to a conversation while doing the laundry or washing the dishes, cleaning the house, or while you're on the way to work, school. You have to make sure to stick with that schedule. That will soon become part of your study habit. That is the same as when we're doing things that we do every day, such as eating, going to work, waking up, sleeping. When we do them every day at a specific point of the day, our body will be conditioned to do that thing at that specific time. In finding time for you to study English, you have to set a time which you think the best time for you to learn English, because your brain still works at that specific time. Well, you might be setting the time after your work, and let's say your work finishes at 9 in the evening, 10 in the evening. You have to also think whether you could still study at that time or not. Well, if you can't, I suggest that, for example, for some people, because they go out late or finish late at work, that means they also start their work or school later in the day, right? Not at the early part or not early in the morning. Well, I suggest you study in the morning because that is the time when your brain is not yet exhausted. There are also a lot of benefits of studying in the morning because your mind is still fresh and it can always absorb things that you're reading, writing, and they will retain in your memory much longer. Learning a language or studying English should not be done when you just have a free time, okay? You have that dream, if you have that goal, you really have to allot time for that. You might give up something, or you might move something, postpone, reschedule some things for you to give way to studying English. But all of those sacrifices, all of those efforts, waking up early in the morning or staying late at night just to study English will be worth it at the end, especially once you reach your dream. For some, I know that learning the English language is not your end goal. That is just part of your dream or your bigger goals, and you would feel that all of the things, everything that you did will be worth it once you achieve them. That would be the end of our video for today. I hope I was able to discuss things that might be able to help you to stay on track on learning English. May you have a fun and fruitful 2022. Here are the social media accounts associated with Just Random English and me. If you found this video helpful, informative, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet, share this with other learners. I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much for all the love and support. May you continue to dream and your dream happen. I'll see you on my next video. Bye!